Hello. Welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly program where Masons from around the world get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. As a reminder, the thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Make sure you keep your conversations open for the public and on the level. To interact with us, we love seeing you live every Thursday night in Facebook and YouTube land, so hello and good evening. The chats are always fun. We can't get to every comment, but sometimes your comments may show up on the show. So keep that in mind. And as always, if you can't catch us live, catch us in the replay or in your favorite podcasting app. You know me, John T. Ruark, past master of the Patriot Lodge number 1957 in Fairfax, Virginia. Next up for his introduction, Worshipful Joe Martinez.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. It is Joe Martinez. And thanks to all the weird voodoo and ritual and stuff that y'all did, because it was not my choice, I am once again Worshipful Master of Manassas Lodge number 182 in Manassas, Virginia, member of Other Things and Stuff. And as damn glad to be here.
There was a national surplus of green beans, and so there was only one man who could solve that problem.
Who can make them go away. I'm the Doge Department of Green Beans.
Oh man, Jason Richards,
the dog bee, the Department of Green Bean Efficiencies. Excuse me. Hey everybody, Jason Richards here, past master of Vacation Lodge number 16 in Clifton, Virginia, member of Lafayette Lodge number 79 in Zanesville, Ohio. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you.
Yes, Joe is what we in Virginia call an LMIP, a life master in perpetuity.
I did have
not member.
I had a year off, so I did have a year off to
warm up,
chill,
practice.
Yes, but yes, so happy.
It's like kids that go to college. Like, I need a year off in between semesters to discover myself.
Yeah, but
explore the world.
They go to Europe. Yeah, like they go backpacking. They walk the Great Wall of China, or go in the outback in Australia. I was just waiting to be master again. It's like,
here it comes.
Yes.
Going to say that is not in any way, shape, or form a failing of the immediate past master of Manassas.
No, not at all.
Because he did a great job, and he is now secretary for life.
For life.
So,
secretary. Yeah.
No good deed goes unpunished.
That is what happens when you have like 30 of your members die in 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We had it was almost like the COVID years. But on to happier things.
Things. Patrons, you guys rock. Head over to patreon.com/the Masonic Roundtable to keep Joe master for many years to come.
There is no button or donation that will do that. I absolutely do that. There's none.
I think that's a challenge to the super chats. It really is.
I agree.
Whoever's doing it, I'm going to find you.
I can put in a call to Ryan. Hey, Ryan, you really got to just not get your warden certificate this year.
Oh, my God. Nope.
There's got to be a market for a Masonic voodoo doll, right? Where you just keep sticking an apron on a guy and like, all right, you're going back into the chair.
Yeah, it's like that really.
McCoy's probably has that.
It's that uncopyrighted Fred Flintstone looking one with the Masonic apron that nobody paid for copyright.
No.
Unlicensed.
Yes, severely
unlicensed.
Severely unlicensed.
Masons love copyright infringement when it comes to Hanna-Barbera characters.
Oh, my goodness. Hey, you know what time it is?
I don't care what time it is anymore.
Because we missed you. We missed you last time.
Tarot card of the week.
Did you miss us?
Nah, I did. I really did. I missed not being around.
All right, so this week returning to an old favorite, the Yuletide Tarot.
Yay!
super
The
excited.
Yuletide Tarot is my daily driver this month. It's
Really?
Awesome.
it's what I use every day.
Really good.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Really
is.
good.
And it is also one of those that has the alternate suits, right? Instead of cups, it's like good cheer, and then it's candy canes and gifts.
And gifts for Pentacles, like the Page of Gifts.
Ooh.
Oh, this is the Page of Pentacles.
Which is always a good one for starting something new job, new money coming in,
New book.
a new book, just
Mhm.
new beginnings of material things.
New tattoos.
New
Yeah.
tattoos, yeah. Lots of new things.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is good and bad, right? Every card
Right.
too also has a downside as well as a positive. So, there's change coming.
Aside from the tower is all positive all the time.
Yes.
And the 10 of Swords.
That's
In
what
this
we
case,
met.
the 10 of Canes.
The 10 of Canes, yes. You can see if you can find the 10 of Canes.
Yeah.
You referenced it last week, and you're going to reference it
So
again this
good.
week. You gotta pull it back. So yeah,
That's so generational. I'm going to manifest against what everything else is telling me. The tower's great.
so yeah. Page of Gifts is good for Joe starting a new year's master, for table lodges, festive boards, just all good things. All good things.
Let's get it.
There we go. The
There's the 10 of
Canes.
Canes.
That's fabulous.
Taddy, what happened to Frosty?
You got too close to mommy.
Yeah.
Not a good one. Awesome. So, thank you for that, Jason. Moving on to topic of the week: table lodges and festive boards. Right? Because Joe, as master, I think you've decided to have one of those things coming up here in the next couple weeks, right?
So as for those not on video this week, yeah, we're gonna have two. We're actually gonna have three this year, but
Holy smokes.
yeah, that was definitely one of the things we wanted to talk about, because you see a lot of places, and we'll talk about, the table lodge and the festive board and where they came from and what they mean. But a lot of places you see them have only one, in the summertime. But if you look at old ritual and the old charges and things like that, and old Masonic documents,
And the stated reason for the formation of the Premier Grand Lodge of England.
to celebrate the grand feasts,
Food. Yes.
food and alcohol and merriment.
And green beans.
And green beans. Indeed. Yeah. But yeah, so we're gonna, we started doing the first year I was master. I went back through the minutes. The last time we had done a table lodge at my lodge was in the mid 1980s.
No way.
That's right. Yes.
Wow.
So it had been a good almost 40 years.
That's something.
Yeah. And but it was just a mention in old minutes that, hey, a table lodge was had. I couldn't find anything about it or what ritual they did or anything like that. But yeah. And some lodges in lots of jurisdictions have no idea what a table lodge is. People, we always had visitors that was their first time ever coming to a table lodge, and they've been Masons for 5, 10, 20 years. And so I figured we'd do it.
Well, when you do one every 40 years, it makes it a little hard for them to keep up.
Yeah. But if someone keeps getting stuck as master, we'll just have them every damn year.
All the time. There's nothing in the Masonic law that says you can't do it at every meeting.
In Virginia.
No, you could technically. I mean, lots of, and that's why I guess what we'll talk about, because people throw those terms around, table lodge and festive board, and they're interchangeable sometimes, and sometimes they're not. But lots of lodges, especially outside of the United States, will hold a festive board after every meeting.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Jason, how would you best describe off the cuff what a table lodge is?
So table lodge is a really interesting Masonic ceremony that is one of the few ceremonies that's actually open to all Masons, regardless of degree. So you can be
even EAs?
Even EAs and fellow crafts can attend.
That Baltimore convention would disagree.
Yeah. I disagree with a lot of the Baltimore Convention.
Here.
But yeah, you have a special ritual, and it is one of the only events in Virginia at which you can have alcohol, but specifically must be wine.
Correct.
So
Not doing shots. Okay.
There's the answer,
No
Patrick.
bourbon, no whiskey, no vodka. So right, and Jason was talking about Virginia, but yeah, no, he's spot on. It's basically it is a ritualistic. Yeah, it's a communication of your lodge. Like in Virginia, you're having a called communication. My lodge in DC, Benjamin B. French, we do it in place of a stated communication, so it's technically our communication. Where we have, and that lodge also has 2 festive boards on both the feast days as well, which is great. But yeah, it's ritual. You have the great lights in the room with you, right? So it is a tiled meeting, but like Jason said,
it's a real thing.
In most places, it's open to all degrees of Masons, not just Master Masons. Yeah.
But not to the public.
Not to the
profane.
Not correct. To the, yeah, okay. In Virginia. Yeah, in Virginia.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And so the reason we keep saying in Virginia or in DC is that different jurisdictions have different rules on how a table lodge should be conducted and in what manner and on which degree and what alcohol is allowed to be there or not, right? So it's not just as simple as one table lodge in one state is going to be the same format, style, flavor as in another state. Similar, but different.
Yeah, and then it's great that we're talking about this. So when we spoke about me and Clancy's trip to the UK, we attended festive board there after their meetings, and they were very different than what we're used to too. But again, different places, different jurisdictions have different traditions, and I guess it's mostly a kind of seated in tradition now, the way people do things and stuff. But to all y'all's point, we look at 10 years ago in Virginia, and not a lot of people were doing table lodges.
That is true.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, Joe.
What?
Well, what's the difference between that and a festive board?
So again, we have to talk about jurisdictional differences. So let's start with where this all started, right? With the formation of the first Grand Lodge. But there were probably toasts and song and things like that previous to the formation of the premier Grand Lodge in England. But at least there, a lot of the lodges in the UK will have festive boards after their business meeting, right? And it is a meal with ritual, with song, lots of song, more song than one would like, toasts, and a wide variety of beverages. At least here in Virginia, it's a lot different. So Virginia, you are allowed, as Jason said, to consume alcohol ritualistically, but you're only allowed to consume wine, right? Not spirits, not alcohol, hard liquor, no beer, none of that. Only wine. Wine is the ritualistic exception to the rule. But at least in Virginia, a table
very forward thinking with Virginia banning IPAs, which the rest of the country will get on board.
Get right ahead of that, don't they?
Ugh. But yeah, so table lodges are like a ritual communications where there's toasts, where there's usually a program, and we'll get into Masonic education during table lodges. There's ritual, there's an opening and a closing. There are officers, there are regalia, right? You're wearing your jewels and your aprons to a table lodge. And food, right? Lots of food, preferably not green beans, but yeah, lots of food. And then festive boards, at least in Virginia, festive boards are open to the public. So a lot of appendant bodies will have festive boards where their spouses come or people who are not members of that body.
So that is open to the public, right? That is more for others, non-Masons to join.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have some fun, join in the fun.
Yep, and it's kind of similar. You'll do toasts, you'll do song, you'll do the ritual. It's just less tiled, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I think the benefit there, right? So there's pros and cons to all these approaches, right? But if there's a Venn diagram, there's a lot more overlap between table lodges and festive boards than there are differences. And I think one of the benefits of having a tiled table lodge is you can, do some Masonic work and have some Masonic education that really is open only to the craft at the degree you're opening in, right? And still have a feast together as brothers. Whereas, like we said, if you're doing a festive board with friends and family, it's more inviting to still have that same toast atmosphere, right? The camaraderie, the songs, and include spouses and, sons and daughters and whomever else you want to invite, friends. So it makes it, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we like both.
Yeah. So one of the benefits too of traveling is I know probably at least the three of us have done table lodges and festive boards in other jurisdictions as well. And so do you have any good stories or good memories or differences that you can highlight that you noticed when you traveled around and saw a different way it was done, at least especially outside of your jurisdictions?
Jason, you want to go first?
So I would say most memorable is probably the table lodge we had at Masonicon up in Attleboro, Massachusetts.
Ooh, that was a fun one. Yes.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and I think it was very similar to how Virginia does table lodges, with the exception of the toasts were a bit different and the ways that they charged and fired cannons were different.
Whoa. They brought guns to lodge? What's going on with these
did.
cannons? Okay. What's charging cannons, Jason?
Charging cannons is filling your firing glass. Yes.
That does seem to be a common terminology that does go around cross jurisdictional.
Well,
Yeah.
there was a lot of what should we call it? Cultural appropriation with military festive events, right? So
Sure.
military dinners, dining-ins. A lot of our early Freemasons attended those same events. So a lot of that terminology came from, being on a ship or serving in the military and cannons and charging them and firing and stuff. So a lot of that verbiage that you say during the ritual, it has a lot of military connotations to it, for sure. And it's fun because the more you drink, the more complicated it gets. So,
how about you, Joe? Any good stories or differences that you can?
Yeah, no,
remember?
Jason, everyone. The first time I went to Attleboro for Masonicon. So glad y'all are back home, and that was fun because it was big and it was jam packed. Right, it wasn't.
There's a lot of people there.
Yes,
a lot of people.
A lot of things happening. It was fun. The energy was great. Going back to my last trip to the UK when we did Festive Board. Like I said, they sang 3 or 4 songs in between courses, in between toasts, and it was a lot less. Like when we do table lodges here in Virginia, it's like, hey, we've got X number of toasts, and you have to toast this person, and you have to toast the president of the United States, and you have to toast the Grand Master, right? A lot of it's prescribed. People were just getting up and toasting like they're all pair, or they're, the guy who shines their shoes. And so there were a lot more toasts than I expected, and I did not pace myself appropriately. So, yeah.
That is true. Yeah. They limit it to wine, but it doesn't slow people down either. So
it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Absolutely. So yeah, that's definitely memorable. And so was the next morning. But lots of singing and songs I didn't know when I first started eating, but by the end of the night, I absolutely knew all of them. Sometimes though.
Or you didn't care that you didn't know them.
Nobody else cared that I didn't know them either because the wine was flowing. But yeah, that was a good night. But always a great vibe at a table lodge or a festive board, right? It's a fun Masonic event, right? It's not 30 minutes, I'm done, read the minutes, and
you see fewer guys sleeping on the sidelines in table lodges.
Yes.
Than you do.
Fact.
Participatory. Yes.
And then a business meeting. Yes.
Agreed.
Yeah. Now, so three memorable table lodges, festive boards come to mind for me. The first of which being the most impressive, formal, very exquisite atmosphere was Lexington Lodge number 1 out of Lexington, Kentucky. That lodge is an observant lodge and takes itself very seriously. And just, not only was the atmosphere fantastic among the brothers, but also the meal was fantastic. It was just a very proper, posh kind of night. So everybody was tuxedoed up. It was done right. It was done very well. There's nothing that you could probably want to change. And so, and they included education as well. So, so that was a good time. The second one that comes to mind was one where I presented. I'm trying to remember if it was to which lodge it was. I'm not going to feel so bad now, but I believe it was not at AW22's lodge. No, it was a separate lodge, but a lot of AW22 members were visiting. That's Alexandria Washington Lodge number 22, also known as George Washington's Lodge. They were visiting as a fraternal visit. I gave my presentation on how George Mason was irregular and clandestine, and had a nice talking to after the meeting. So that was fun. all in good manners, but I'm still right. And then finally, that interesting spin on the festive board, because this was open to family members as well, was at Alex Power's most recent Kansas City Masonic Con this past summer, where to spice things up a bit, actually turned it into a masquerade ball as well.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So you had the little fancy masks. Thought it was an Eyes Wide Shut for a minute, but it turned out to be okay. It
was all dudes.
After I woke up, everything was fine. No, but it was fun. It was fun because it was just an interesting take. We still had a good time.
That was the card you pulled after the masquerade ball.
I'm regretting my life's choices.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see they're all a little bit different for a variety of different reasons. But yeah, good times. And I think, the one thing that's implied here that we haven't really explicitly said is that there is table lodge ritual on kind of the order of things, how you open and close. Sure. It does vary state by state. Some jurisdictions, exactly. This universal brotherhood actually has a wide variety of implementations, and some jurisdictions, have the approved ritual from Grand Lodge. Others have a ritual that some guy wrote or copied or borrowed or stole, and it's not
got from a brother in another jurisdiction and said this is good
possibly
enough.
Exactly, but it's not something that has to be blessed by the Grand Lodge of that jurisdiction.
Yep.
Right. And then there's others who are still making it up and are still looking for more examples that they can beg, borrow, and steal from.
But you get a lot of those commonalities, right? Like I'd say, I think we've all been to lots of table lodges and festive boards in other jurisdictions. One thing that's really common, and I've been to them in other countries, and so have some of y'all. One commonality is the Tyler's toast. That last toast of the evening you usually see in other places. And it reminded me when you started talking about, hey, I like that ritual. I'm going to steal it and bring it over here. I think that happens a lot. But, most jurisdictions that I've been to, they'll end the evening with the last toast, which is the Tyler's toast, which is pretty. And since it's ritualistic, I won't say it here. But it's a great way to end the evening. And then sometimes there's singing involved.
Off key.
Very off key, but very festive nonetheless.
And the person who starts it always starts it like like way
out
too
of
high,
range. Yeah.
out of range. Yeah.
We as Masons are also like locksmiths. We make our own key.
Yes.
So
Problem is, when we make our own keys, doors usually shut as opposed to open.
Stay shut.
indeed. So toasting's a big thing that comes with table lodges, festive boards. Why do you think that
Who
is?
do we toast?
Yeah, let's talk about that. We don't have to go into the ritual aspect, but
So toasting, to me is a celebration, right? Festive boards are a celebration, and by toasting, we are able to show gratitude and enter into a time of feasting with a thankful heart for, in Masonry's case, the things that purportedly make our fraternity wonderful.
That was perfectly said. I don't even think add a single to it. It was perfect.
Nevertheless, you persisted.
No. Well, I missed my own voice, but yeah, no, that was spot on perfect. But yeah, going back to John's question, I mean, here in most table lodges I've seen in the jurisdictions around us, they're like in hierarchical order, right? You start with some places will start with the president of the United States, right? And then there's always one to the Grand Master of your jurisdiction, and then there's usually one to all Freemasons wheresoever dispersed. If it's around one of the big military holidays, you'll always get veterans or things like that. Usually, what's another one we've seen? Oh, to visitors, right? People who aren't members of that lodge. There's always one. And there's little bits of extra ritual that go, right? Like if you're toasting veterans, those veterans will sit down, right? They won't actually partake in the toast. And if you're a visitor, you won't partake in the toast. So everybody else gets a drink more than you. Yeah. But there's fun little quirky things that happen during toasts.
now it gets really fun, when the night gets longer and longer, and you have toasts to, the microwave, and toasts to our charter from 200 years ago. And
Well,
it
reminds me of the festive board in Kansas,
to the ladies,
where there are some cases where any brother who wants to, make a toast, can do so at any point.
At any point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which makes it fun. I actually kind of like that because it provides structure and it provides a little bit of levity, a little bit of, letting other brothers celebrate maybe an aspect of the craft or friends or family that, aren't part of the formal ritual of that jurisdiction. Right?
It's also a little bit of reverse never have I ever. Because you say, okay, I'd like to drink with all brethren visiting from out of state. And so all brethren who fall in that category then end up taking
if
part
we're
of the
talking
toast.
about that first Masonic Con in Kansas that we were all at, I remember having to run back to my table about 20 times that night because I thought we were done, and then holy crap, all Masons wearing blue bow ties. It's like shit. And I'm running back to fill my glass. There was a lot of running that night. Yeah, but it was fun.
All Masons who have received an official reprimand from the Grand Lodge. I think that was mine.
And quite a few people stood up.
Yeah, I was going to say, quote of the night is that good table lodges are Masonic never have I evers.
Reverse never have I ever.
Reverse never have I evers.
I like that.
That is true. Though now you got me thinking about more lodge shenanigans. That's fun.
Which we won't talk about here.
How about best festive boards as far as the non-toast aspects, food, atmosphere, location, any of those kind of aspects come to mind?
Ooh, I got one. Yeah, I was invited to go speak at Most Worshipful Bob Davis's lodge in Oklahoma. I think was it the year he was Grandmaster or right before he was Grandmaster? Yeah, it was at a country club. The food was absolutely divine. It was black tie. Everybody was hoity-toity and fancy, but kind of to Jason's point, once a couple of toasts started kicking in, then the fun started to ensue and everybody started to chill a little bit, and extra toasts were coming up. And but yeah, the food was great. And this was, a room full of people who I had not met until 2 hours prior, right? When somebody picked me up at the airport. But and Bob wasn't even there. He was sick. So yeah, I had a blast, but the food was amazing. The venue was gorgeous. I mean, it had to be super expensive because they rented out a hall at a country club. And but yeah, it was absolutely stunning event. Yeah, I have fun at anything that's called a table lodge or a festive board, so.
Is it like cold spaghetti and like Costco salad mix, or is it something a little better?
Well, I mean,
that's speaking from an ex-steward for 2 years. Like I served my time.
I'm so thankful we know each other then. Yell at you.
You should.
Well, I mean, most table lodges or festive boards, there is a fee, right, associated with it. It's not just like going to lodge. Some lodges are very fortunate that can cover it, but you're buying food and you're buying alcohol and
that's not free.
Do whatever. They usually is a ticket price, quote unquote. So most places I've been to, and I don't want to speak for y'all, that have that sort of fee, you're usually getting a bit better of a dining experience than Masonic green beans and a ham hock that's been sitting in sweaty water for 12 hours, so.
Hot dog water. Yes.
Hot dog water.
Dog water. So
that's something different.
There was a good experience because even when I travel personally, I like to explore the local cuisine, right? So I've been to a couple table lodges, festive boards outside of the jurisdiction, and I think it's good when they always.
Did you get the Provel cheese in St. Louis?
Fortunately, no.
Okay, good.
Yeah, but I have, it's nice when the brothers say, "Oh, well, we got this ice cream from a local dairy farm right down the street," right? And so it gives it a little bit extra panache. Mm-hmm. Panache.
What is Jason doing?
He's deep in thought right there.
He is. What's going on there, bud?
Just thinking about panache.
Yeah.
Okay. So next question. What would you change, add, or subtract from the average table lodge experience that you've seen or heard of? I got you thinking. Look at that. This is the most quiet Joe's been in like
you really listen.
2 weeks.
I've had such it's you're absolutely right. You go to different jurisdictions or even different lodges and you get a completely different table lodge experience. Like I remember I went to a table lodge in past West Winchester for it was an AMD table lodge of all things. It was one of their meetings and it was totally different. It was great food, but it was buffet style. And it's like, hey, grab your plate, sit down and get ready to rock and roll. And we'll do a program and then we'll do some toast, right? It was a lot less formal, but
it does not have to be a $200 a plate kind of thing. Right. Exactly. We're not saying that at all. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of, something to take away or something to add, I don't know, because each table lodge is so different. Right. Now I have been to some table lodges where the ritual is really unnecessarily verbose. Like you're listening to someone for 20 minutes and it's like, can we just get on with the salad course or the toast or something? Like they're reading or explaining stuff the whole time. That's a little unnecessary. And at least I try to avoid those wherever possible. But each one is unique and fun. And it's nice to see things that are different, So I'm going to give you the cop-out answer of, I don't know, because I have fun whenever I go to a table lodge.
Or Jason's consulting answer, it depends.
It depends. Yes. So what I would say is, I would say panache. I would say I've been to some table lodges that have felt really rigid and overly structured, and so I like a table lodge that's a bit more laid back and go with the flow. Like I don't want to be like, eating my food and then having to stand up and then get back down. Just stand up and get back down 30 seconds later.
I think I'll also add to that and say, with your laid back comment too, if you have a lot of gold chains in the room, you have Grand Line officers or anything, the more that the atmosphere is on the level, right, rather than we have to be extra formal and extra stuffy because the Grand Lodge is here and watching, and mom and dad are in the room.
I'm sorry. I'm going to rip that Band-Aid off and say that is completely jurisdictional, right? And it's also completely generational, right? Because and I'm not going to name names or jurisdictions, but I've been to many a festive board or table lodge where the Grandmaster is there, and I've had a rip-roaring, ridiculous, off-color, inappropriate crap coming out of my mouth good time. And I've also been to other table lodges where you do have some gold collars there. And yeah, to your point, it's stuffy, it's boring. People don't feel like they can be themselves. And it's a shame that you have that type of atmosphere pops up in something that's supposed to be a fun event, right? So, but yeah, I honestly, I think it's more, I don't even want to say generational, right? Because we're still considered young Masons, right? Even though I'm middle-aged.
You're whippersnapper.
But I'm a whippersnapper, but with panache. But yes, but no, I think it's maybe geographic, right? So because some jurisdictions, to your point, they get it when we're at a fun event, everybody's on the level and everybody's there to have equally a great time, and those events are fun.
Yeah, I mean, in general, right? Any event, a Masonic event where there are no titles, tend to be some of the best ones, in my personal opinion.
Literally, I was looking at this coffee mug while you were saying that. So that was first time I had been.
Coffee mug?
It's Weekend Without Titles. That is held up in the Grand Lodge of Alberta. And myself and they've done it for a couple of years. They just had their, I think, third one this past year. So I went last year with Brother Matt Parker, who we've had on the show. But yeah, it literally was, we ended with a beautiful festive board, in a ginormous hotel. It was actually at a casino conference room. And you had grandmasters, pouring drinks for, brand new EAs and stuff like that. And it was a huge banquet hall and everybody was just laughing and having a blast the whole time. But the first thing they said and it was a big week, it was big education weekend. And that's why we had gone up there. But the first and last thing they said is like, leave your title out the door. We do not care who you are and what initials are in your name. Like, just come here and be a Mason. And they carried that through all the way to the festivities and the dining and the toasting. And it was absolute blast. It was cold as hell. I don't like anything Canadian because of that now. There's a new level of winter that I've experienced that I never want to see again in my life. But other than that, it was a blast.
Good news is you probably won't.
Bazinga.
You can make that happen. Yeah. So, I mean, to improve the table lodge or festive board experience, I guess it would be the lack of titles, right? I will say too, one change that I would make that I have seen happen more than once is waiting too long between when food gets served and starting the toasts. Right? Where, the food has been eaten and gone, and then you're still waiting for that first toast to kind of kick things off. And that there's at least, 7 or 8 more toasts throughout the night, and you're already finished dessert and waiting around.
Yeah, so I've been making a face because I've actually gotten into arguments about people with this. So at least in Virginia,
Mhm.
And I've seen them do it in other places. If you read the ritual verbatim, which some lodges do, and I'm looking at Jason specifically, because
I wasn't at that festive board.
you're not, but you were associated with it. But
It's your fault.
I haven't been to that lodge since 2019.
But anyway, if you read the ritual as it's written on the paper, the 7 or 8 toasts or whatever, they're all in chronological order. And when I looked at the program, I was like, okay, we're doing 8 toasts all at once. I'm like, we're gonna be knackered by the time we're done, and we hadn't even gotten to eating yet. So I explained to them, I was like, listen, that's just like a suggestion. You don't have to do all 8 toasts at the same time. Maybe put a salad in between or a piece of beef or something, spread it out, but they were like, no, that's how it's written in the ritual, and we're going to do all the toasts at once. And I'm like, man, this is going to be a rough night.
Oh,
so
wow.
They did. And yeah, so by the time I actually had to do a program, by the time I got to do the program, I didn't want to do the program. They didn't want to hear the program. And I was like, I just want to have dessert and go home.
Yeah,
So,
lesson learned, do the program first, then have the alcohol.
and space out your toasting. So it's not all at once.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Indeed. But yeah. So that is a change. Learn to use the brain and read between the lines, and don't drink 18 ounces of wine in 5 minutes.
On an empty stomach. Yes.
Yeah. With panache.
Every time you say that word, my brain autocorrects it to ganache.
Which
chocolate.
Some fancy table lodges, they will serve desserts with ganache.
Ganache.
As well, yeah. Love a good ganache.
Their ganache has panache.
It does.
Oui.
Okay, so another brain teaser for you. If you could design a unique table lodge or festive board experience, one where brothers would say after leaving that, I had not seen that before and I probably won't see that again. What would you do?
Damn, John. That's twice I've had to look up and to the right to think.
I can tell you're thinking, yeah, exactly. That's your giveaway.
I don't like this.
Allow toasting with Everclear.
That's it. Show's over.
Can you imagine?
Half the lodge would succumb to alcohol poisoning.
Oh yeah, and we wouldn't get to the Tyler's toast because people would be dead by then.
Yes.
Yeah, you just got me thinking of my Gen X brain where nothing offends me. But you see those people on TikTok where they're drinking Everclear for the first time and they're not Gen Xers. It's like,
You're like, oh, you want to warn them, but that's funny.
Mm-hmm.
No, but what I'm thinking of is like something that's like a one of a kind experience. It's more of an experience as well as a table lodge. Like if you had the table lodge in the press booth of your local Major League Baseball team, right? And it's something that's not just the good food and the good fraternal aspect, but it's also something that's very memorable, something unique that's really hard to repeat or replicate. That would be something that I think would be a nice spin on the traditional table lodge experience.
John wants a burlesque table lodge.
There's nothing that says you can't. Well, table lodge, yes. Festive board, no.
Right.
Because unless
burlesque
you
dancers just all have to be men.
That is true. And Masons. They have to at least be EAs.
Yes. Apron covers the naughty bits.
I'm not talking this one. You're feeding my nightmare fuel right now.
Joe's taking notes.
Actually, I was. I'm letting AI take the notes for me. But no, you actually made me think of one, and I will call them out by name because I haven't seen it done there in years, and it was such a unique experience, and it was actually really awesome. But the people that did it don't really show up anymore, so I think the vibe's gone for it. But so it was my first table lodge at Benjamin B. French in Washington D.C., and they did the usual thing. It was toasts, great food, wine, all the good things, the toasts. The program was all awesome. And before we finished the night, and this was a lodge that does a chain of union at the end of the night, right? And, you know, sings Auld Lang Syne, which in some places is ritual, some it's not. They turned all the lights off, so there were just the candles that were lit in the room. And they did the Ode to a Skull. I don't know if you've ever heard it. But yeah, it was basically this poem. It was a soliloquy, and one of the brothers sat there with a skull, basically like right out of Shakespeare, and did this beautiful poem. And the room was drop dead quiet. You could hear a pin drop. And this is after all the laughing and hoo-haing and, you know, slapping each other around and stuff.
Right,
and
right.
it was just such an amazingly solemn, perfect way to end the evening. And then we all got together and did a chain of union. And you actually caught some vibe at the end of the night. I've not seen it since. And like I said, the guys did it. I've not seen them in lodge in a while. So I think all the right pieces were there to do something. But that was something I'd never seen at a table lodge. It was absolutely beautiful. It was moving. And it was just a perfect capstone to the evening. So
I love it. That's cool.
Yeah, it was very pretty. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you bring up a good point. It has a certain je ne sais quoi about it, but I think like obviously like an esoteric table lodge would be, you know, would be a fun theme, right? Because nothing says you can't theme your table lodge, just like
True.
You know, Brother Powers did with the masquerade ball kind of theme to it. So yeah, to have one tiled for EAs and above, and just say, hey, we're gonna talk about things that are super cool and esoteric, and we're gonna do some fun stuff with the atmosphere and just make it special and unique that way. And we'll still be ritual compliant. So in case there are any gold collars around here, then we're still following by the book and adding a little panache to it.
Got to.
How about you, Jason? Any unique experience you would create or like to see experimented with?
I really like the idea of a theme to the table lodge. Like you could do, you know, some sort of topic on Masonic education. You could do, you know, you could do something on like Masonic astrology.
Ooh.
And have the table lodge in a planetarium.
Oh,
like
see, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, something like that would be fantastic.
There you go.
You know what that would have? That would have
Jamie Paul Lamb.
It would have just a touch.
Yes.
And Jamie Paul Lamb.
No, that's awesome, man. And yeah, everything you said is fantastic. But and I think we forgot to mention, which is like one of the big things, is we already have this, or most jurisdictions already have this built-in theme for table lodges, right? Like most places will hold their table lodges, or they should, or they've been told to, around the feasts of St. John, the Holy Saint John, right?
Yes.
We've not talked about that in all this time, but yeah. So you'll normally see lodges have a lot of times in June, right? Because December is a busy time. The holidays are here. Some people will have table lodges in December, like us, and I'll see y'all there. But most times you'll see it in June, right? You know, around the Feast of St. John, and that's actually one of the first big festive boards that was when the Premier Grand Lodge of England was formed on the feast day of St. John. So, so you have this built-in theme, but again, back to Jason's point, how often do people pull the trigger on that, right, and do something around that, you know, other than just have it around that day, you know?
Right. Just because the calendar falls that way. Yeah.
Right.
All right. A couple of little comments from the chat. What about adding table lodge etiquette to the bylaws?
Why would you want to be overly prescriptive, though? Like that to me just seems like legislating something that doesn't need to be legislated.
Yeah, give yourself room to breathe and change and stuff like that. Like, you know,
like room to add panache.
You got to add panache, right? You can't add panache in a bylaw, you know. It's got to be organic.
You can legislate morality. Summer in Canada is great, and this year was on a Thursday. Thank you, Brother Gary.
Yes, Gary.
I love that.
Yep. When I got to convert to Celsius to know how cold it is, it makes me sad. Okay? That's all I'm going to say.
Brother Scott says a table lodge in the Luray Caverns would be pretty cool.
Luray. Thank you very much. The
Like
Luray
like
Caverns.
Blu-ray Caverns? Is
Yes.
Luray.
Okay.
I would agree, but the first time someone does that, someone's not walking out of the caverns alive. Like it's like, oh
Correct.
shit, we forgot Albert. He never made it out. Like,
the stalagmites.
yep. So, great on
Tripped
paper.
and impaled on a stalagmite.
Falls 50 feet onto a stalagmite.
Remember, stalactites hang tight on the ceiling.
Yep, that's true.
It's only-
Hans Gruber style.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And then that's the end of table lodges in Virginia.
Yes.
It's not the Feast of St. John until Hans Gruber falls off a table lodge.
Nakatomi Plaza Table Lodge.
I love that picture. Yeah, so that's what we were talking about. John J. Jingleheimer Schmidt asked, what about having an open one to members and family friends where the members serve the family? That's a great idea. But yeah, I mean, at least in Virginia, that's what we call festive boards, where they're open to people that are not initiated into the craft.
And a great theme to serve others
Yeah, I like it.
while you're
I
being
just
amazing.
can't get over the Mao Sena Tsung picture.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay. Wrapping it up. So, let's see. I've been asking all these good questions today. I'm going to let Jason pick the final question.
Thank God.
Final question.
I don't want Joe to look up and to the right again.
No,
Yeah.
you hurt my brain, man.
Final question around table lodges and festive boards.
Oh, simple. Table lodge or festive board.
Ooh, if you pick one,
You can pick one. One's got to go.
which one's got to go? That's a good one. Broseph.
Yeah,
Take it
okay.
away.
All right. Table lodge stays, festive board goes.
Aw.
Yeah, I mean, I love the ritual of the table lodge, and I think it's one of the few times where Masons can have fun with ritual and, again, make it a more mirth-inducing event as opposed to being stoic. And but it's tiled, and you can have great programs and do awesome education, and you still get that sense of camaraderie and fellowship around the altar, right? Because it's still there in the room. And I mean, you can still have a party and call it a festive board, even
Sure.
if you're a festive board. So I mean, but yeah, if I had to pick one, I'd say table lodge stays because I enjoy them, and they
Awesome.
have much.
Yeah, I was going to say, my answer would probably be that, let's see, festive boards go, table lodges stay, because, at least here in Virginia, it is at least something that the EAs and fellow crafts could do. Right. One of the few Masonic events, tiled events, that they can actually come to and participate. So, all things being equal, there's my vote.
Boom.
Jason?
Table lodges go. Festive boards stay.
Same on. Same on.
Because festive boards are open to the public. And there are so few opportunities for family and non-Mason friends to get a feel for what is done in Masonry. Like it's basically, funeral services. Everybody's having fun there. Installations.
Depends on the
Everybody's having just as much
Everybody's-
fun there. And
Especially
festive
Joe.
boards. And,
Yes.
and so I think it's a way to, be inclusive about our Masonic experience.
Nice.
I like it.
I like it.
And Carl Wagner agrees with me. Thanks, Carl.
I like it.
Okay. Well, this is fantastic. Good episode. We are taking next week off
Mm-hmm.
because there's this solstice holiday that we like to celebrate. So we love all y'all. Make sure you have a
Happy
great
Yule to everyone.
Happy Yule, Happy Saturnalia, Happy Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, and
Happy all things.
be safe. Happy New Year. I will be back in 2025. So with that, I want to say thank you all very much for watching and keep searching for more light. Have a good night.